I'm Diane Thompson, and on behalf of the Canadian Cashmere producers, combing a cashmere goat, phase 1. When combing time comes to your farm, getting them in the stanchion is also a good time to check them over, because the does are going to be kidding soon, and this is a great time to have a real hands-on exam of them. So you can check them for any lumps and bumps or anything that shouldn't be there. Check their teeth, check their eyes, check their skin, and make note of what you're doing as well. What you see. Come on, little one. Yeah. Good teeth. And then if you notice anything that you don't want to forget, you want to mark it down. I use a little fleece classification form or inspection form. You can design them any way, whatever works for your record keeping. But I'll record the number of the doe or buck, whatever the case. And I'll say teeth good. Or when I'm doing her feet, I'll note if there's any problems that I have to remember about her feet. The other thing I should mention is restraint. When you're combing, when you're handling the animals, it's really good to have them restrained completely. There's an old saying, you give someone enough rope and they'll hang themselves. I can't stress enough how that applies here. If they're restrained adequately, then they're going to feel more safe. It's safer for them. It's also safer for the handler. We have a little stanchion here we use, but you can tie the goat up to a fence line as well with her halter. Again, make sure there's no space in the rope though, because that's going to make her feel less secure, and that's when she could jump around and maybe hurt herself. So we've checked her over, we've trimmed her feet, we've noted her number. Now we would classify her fleece. This is a great time to see what kind of fleece this doe is producing. You can check the fiber at 3 different points on the doe. Check it for length, you check it for fineness, you check it for style. And you can record that on your forms as well, and then that's part of your record keeping for making breeding decisions. So we're going to put her form in her bag here, and we're going to start combing. This is a great use for this step aerobics thing, by the way. You have an extra one. This little apron is actually sold as a garden apron by Lee Value, but I can't. It's a great little tool apron for farmers and shepherds and goat herds as well. When you start combing a goat, the first thing is to recognize when she's ready to comb, and that's hard to describe. The cashmere will start shedding before the guard hair will, and you will over time learn to recognize when the cashmere has lifted, when it's broken off at the skin and yet the guard hair is still intact. It gets a little rougher around the edges. If she's got longer guard hair, it will lift more. But it's something you learn over time. You have to check them regularly by pulling at the cashmere and seeing if it comes out easily. But it's like a wheat crop or a grape crop. You know, it takes the farmer a little bit of experience to be able to easily recognize when the perfect time for harvest is. When the perfect time arrives, you're going to be able to comb out the fleece fairly quickly, and you'll get almost pure cashmere as versus having a bunch of guard hair in it. This little girl is probably a little early. But we're going to give it a try just to demonstrate anyway. Now the first thing I do is with the comb flat to the body, we comb her in one spot over and over to lay all the hair down, and that means that it'll be less tugging and more comfort for her. Once that hair is laid, then I angle the comb like this, so it's like a garden hoe, and that makes the comb lift out the cashmere. This just lays it down. This will lift. Minor detail, but makes a big, big difference when it comes to combing. So now we're going to lift the cashmere. See how it comes out? And we'll comb over that same spot till the cashmere is lifted. She could probably be combed anytime this week or the beginning of next, just the way she's shedding now. I think they tend to shed so that the neck hair sheds last, so sometimes it's a little tougher to comb out the neck hair. You want to include that in your clip though, because you want to know how much fleece she's producing overall. You're breeding for full coverage. You want to see the cashmere up around the ears, so why leave it on the goat? Generally, when we're combing here in our northern climate, the goats will start shedding anytime end of January, beginning of February. This is very, very late. This is not normal combing. Normally I have insulated coveralls on. The shedding is triggered by hormones as well as daylight hours. So if a doe is going to kid, she's going to shed her cashmere before she kids. So if you breed for February or March kidding, you're going to be combing in January and February. Now, one of the things I'm doing here that also I've noticed makes it much easier to get the cashmere and less pulling on the goat. You'll notice I'm not taking a full bite of the comb width, but I'm just combing backward with the leading edge. And that lifts out the cashmere, but only a small amount at a time. So it's more comfortable for the doe here. If she is in full shed, ideal shed, all conditions are right, you should be able to comb a goat in 20 minutes. After you're done combing the goat, you would take your fleece back to the house, weigh it so you have the full weight of what that goat is producing. You can class it again off the goat, and that gives you can feel the handle of the fleece as well then, which isn't as easy to feel when the goat hair is in there. So we're continuing to comb down the body here. And like I say, this young lady is probably, I could have left her for another week. There's a little more resistance than would be ideal. This one might take me about 35 minutes total. But I think what she shows is a good example of what a clean fleece, combed fleece should look like. And I don't know if you can get a close-up there, but you see how few guard hair is actually in that fleece. And that's ideal. That's what you want, because it's very, very expensive to dehair and process cashmere. And if you're paying for the fleece and 75% by weight is guard hair, well, that's going to cost a lot more than if you send in a fleece like this and it's 90% cashmere by weight. So this is what you're looking for. If you start getting more and more guard hair, bottom line is you've left it too long, because the guard hair has started shedding too.